Good evening, folks. It's Pom here. Just got out of the bath, so I'm a bit pink. It wasn't a good sight, I can assure you. But yeah, long down the fishery today. Thank you for Matt Rice and Ollie and Mike for their sterling work, and hopefully this is working. It'll be almost a first to get it right. It's whether the comments, that's the thing. Oh, somebody's smiling on me. Hi Darren, how you doing? Rusty, you're watching. See, you're doing stuff with your fishery, Rusty. Wayne Tester, you're out of jail, are you? Neil, how you doing, matey? Oh, here it is. It's Sunday. It is Sunday. There's only a tiny little bit of spice rum in there. So, Robert, good evening. Hope you're brother well. Ian, how you doing? Anthony, Keith Powell. There's a man who's working hard on the next issue of course, Catch More Fish. Don't even know where I am. James, how you doing? Colin, I'll see you soon. Simon Ossel, watching my grandson. Hello, grandson. Hope you're doing well. Good evening, Stephen. Dave Brock, how you doing? Paul Simmons. I'll just let a few people bob in and then we'll get on with it. And quite a few little bits and pieces to chat about tonight. But don't forget, as always, this is a safe place to, I don't know everything. That's the one thing I do know. I don't know everything. Hi, Miss Shella. Who else? Lee, is that Lee Roberts? I missed there. Steve Bryan, Steve Perry, how you doing, mate? Eddie Granger, Stephen Howlett. That's fantastic. Quite a few people, which is always good. So yeah, it's been a bit of a day on the fishery. And he started very early and worked until dark. Roll on the spring. I shouldn't say this because I'm getting old, but the best way I look at it at the moment is end of next month. It's March. So it's coming. The spring's around the corner. I certainly hope so, because I want to go fishing. Trev Wheeler, how you doing, sir? Good to see you here. Right, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you tonight's live feed draw prize. John Fincham, how you going? Hopefully I've not missed anybody here. Lots of things whizzing past me. You know, if you know me, you know I'm not a techie wizard. Dan Savage. How are you feeling, Dan? Was Horseshoe frozen? John, good evening. Matthew Rice, haven't served you. Yeah, I think you deserve a whiskey. A bottle, Matthew, a bottle. So anyway, so back to tonight's live draw. So if you've not been here before, the live draw is you have to just go through to the team page on Messenger thingy jobby and just... Oh, no, I've got it all wrong already. So I just had a shout from the scenes in the back. So to me, Simon Pomeroy, just message yes if you would like to win. This little lot, some lovely grips, hooks, third design, something very, very different. Trade doesn't like it, but I can't help it. We can't sit still. But this is a lovely little bit. So what I'll show you here is this is for... Oh, where's that new rod tip? So one of you fine people will win this. It's an eye bite. I've shown them before on here. So this is actually the rod tip, so you can feed a fish at night and all kinds of things. Because these eye bites have got these little... So all you got to do is unscrew. John, good evening. Oh, I'm sorry about that, John. Hope you're getting better, matey. So in there's a battery that's put upside down. So you just switch it around. And these are actually... If I can get somebody, if somebody hears me, I don't think you can see that. You would really see this if the lights were off. But so yeah, so then you pop that in, pop it back in the housing. There's a waterproof seal there. Turn my lights back on so it's a little bit brighter. So you get your rod tip. And as many of you may well know, for me it's all about bite detection is something that we don't really get a lot of. You know, we're talking alarms have had to overtake in a day when vision and sensing on your fingers is far more relevant. So we're missing a lot of bites basically. So just like a little there's a little clip system there. And so, yeah, so you can sit there until heart's content in gungy weather, dark at night, whatever. It's great fun seeing it. So, Ten, can you just come and switch the light? I'll get my wonderful Tinny to come and switch the lights off, and then you'll see how really bright it is. Sneaky slurp. Yeah, the actual float's exactly the same. I mean, you know, and there's a 40-hour battery in there. Ooh. So it is a really good bit of kit, to be quite honest. I'm not trying to flog it. I source them for myself, and if you want to buy them, you're more than welcome to. So yes, tonight's competition. So ping me yes to Simon Pomeroy Facebook page, and they will win this. So just go back through it and say this is a 40-hour lithium battery. So I really rate them, to be quite honest. Like I say, I'm in that, I suppose, position, not where I'm looking for indulgence, but I want to generally find the best stuff I can. And I always used to get these floats with like little, again, similar kind of concept, but they just broke all the time. I have about 30 of them. And I used to have the old fluorescent paint on mine years ago. Yes, yeah, remember the old starlights that used to snap and things like that. So, but no, they're a good bit of kit, and like we use on the floats, because we really should remember that a lot of anglers now can't fish, and I'm as guilty as the next man, if it's guilty, as long as you're enjoying it, I suppose. But we're missing those little bites that are actually big bites. We just don't think they're bites. So, yeah. I used 1 quid of tipping for carp. We'll try and post a video on the team page. Yes, you do that, Keith. Like I say, we're really going to kind of drill down over the next year with lots of filming. And again, not based on arrogance. Me and Keith, we're starting a bit of a diving underwater dry suit job. So we want to show you exactly what we're doing underneath the water, because we'll learn as well. That's why I keep on. Andre, I was worried then, all the way from Slovakia. Any snow yet, Andre? Still rain. Well, actually, it's not raining here. It's actually been a glorious day. That's why perhaps they mocked this pink from the bath. What was I rabbiting on about? That's what I tend to do, isn't it? Just actually before what will happen very shortly, I'm just going to turn my camera around. Which one is it? That one. So tonight we've got the main team prize. So that will be drawn in about 10-15 minutes. We've also got the winner of my mystery competition that was on the team page. That was, as I think everybody guessed, it was the grips, the grooves and the grips hooks are very close up. I was mucking around with my phone. I really need to suss this camera out. But yeah, so what will happen in a minute, we'll draw that as well. No snow, come on, Andre. Well, I'm thinking, I want to see that snow carp you're going to catch us. So, bonjour, Pearl. Pearl? What about Paul? God, I'll tell you what, I'm proper tired. I had 3 hours sleep last night because we were doing some stuff. I'm working on something abroad at the moment, and it's taken up ridiculous time. So yes, I do apologise if especially if I'm having a rum as well. But so anyway, so that'll be drawn. The mystery prize will be drawn. So and don't forget, like I say, this little set of goodies is available for the draw this evening. All we've got to do is send yes to Simon Pomeroy on Facebook Messenger, and then you'll get entered and drawn in about half an hour. Anyway, so let me get rid of all this. Now this is something, because to be quite honest, like I've always said, even though I'm old and knackered, every day's a school day. And I didn't realise this. I didn't realise what I'm about to say. Have you been drinking all bath or not after me? No, I'm not even going to go there, Colin. Who's Pearl? Oh, I thought that was your other name. No, I am genuinely shattered. I'm genuinely shattered. But bear with me, and we'll keep on through. But don't forget, folks, any questions you've got. I've got one question here I'm going to bring up in a minute from Ian Brookman. But any questions you've got, do. She's a singer. Oh, there we go. Just ask away. If you know, I don't know it all. Like I say, I generally don't. I do know a fair bit. I've been in the industry 26 years and fishing for, honestly, it's horrible. 50 years fishing, and the last 26 has been like pretty full on. Probably fish less now than I've ever done, to be quite honest, in the last couple of years, because we've been so busy and with the fishery and things like that. But I have promised myself to go fishing this year. I'm just going to stop doing the scroll of doom, because I'm terrible at the moment, like whizzing through, watching all the stuff on the news, and no, it's not happening anymore. Go fishing. So what I'm going to show you is, I'll turn this round. That's probably the best way to do this. Right, so bear with me, because I actually say every day's a school day, and I didn't know, you know, obviously I have known for a long time now, about wound antiseptic spray and propolis wound sealant. Okay, so they're two products. I mean, I sell these as cheap as I can. You'll see you get 50ml instead of 30ml, so I try and keep the price right the way down, because I do actually believe personally, and as a fish owner, every angler should have access to these, and I'll go into more detail why. You might not agree with me. I think you probably all will, because as I say, we're all ticking along on the same hymn sheet. So how do you properly use this stuff? Okay, Neil Oliver, hope you're feeling well, Neil, and all is good up in Scouse land. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them down for a minute, and I'm going to, this is the easiest way to show people. So we get a cut or an abrasion or something, so we put some antiseptic cream on. Yeah, so you just pop that on, because we're going to use this as my model very shortly. And a plaster. So what I'm saying is this is no different. But the thing is, I'm going to tell you first of all, hang on, what's there? Owen and Mick, nice to see you. What, with your years fishing and running lakes, what are your view on smashing ice? No, in all honesty, Russell, I think there's lots of, sorry, I'll just come back round because it's quite an important question, because it's about fish safety. The trouble is, there's nothing, if you dig deep, there's nothing like that will prove it, but certainly on smaller waters, they believe that the vibration can be a problem. Whether it is or not, I don't know. Yeah, but also I think if we're fishing in conditions where there's ice, that's not the time to be fishing. You know, the water is absolutely Baltic. If you fall in, you know, you hear the horror stories. I know you could say in Canada and things like that, but that's a different way of fishing completely. So we're not talking about every year we hear, don't we? It's not anglers necessarily, but people going on our waters and the ice just isn't thick enough. And hi, Paul. And yeah, so it's, you know, in my mind, I'm not a fan. If we iced over, we wouldn't let people fish here. Because there's a whole reason, not just the fish safety, but people's safety. And we're all, I would just as well add on a footnote on that. We've seen again, somebody's lost their life using one of these bivvy heaters, carbon monoxide. Hi, Darren. And, you know, do be careful, folks. I don't have them. I have 2 water bottles, and they keep me more than happy, to be fair. But these heaters are, you know, they're not for what people are using them for. You know, people say, I've seen all kinds of things. I've seen bivvies with like log burners in them, one thing and another. But I've seen a bivvy blow up once because of a gas canister in it and caught fire. And so no, just be safe. And when you're using these bivvy heaters, just keep that door open. I know it kind of defeats the object, but you don't, you know, carbon monoxide comes slowly up, you don't smell it, and you fall asleep and you don't wake up. Going off track a bit, great to see how dangerous bivvy heaters are. Yeah, no, they are in, and that's what, you know, we've got to do on the team page, you know, share, well, for anybody, share the knowledge, because people are going out there, slick marketing, they think they've got to, you know, I've seen people saying, what's your bivvy heater? And like 100 people have put up about a bivvy heater. Each to their own, don't get me wrong, I'm not here to tell anybody what to do, but I would suggest you don't do it. So, horseshoe shut at the moment. Yeah, I would say it's the same as knocking on glass of fish tank. Exactly, Anthony. That's really the you know, I've investigated it many years ago, and you know, like I say, from the human safety aspect, I was very focused on the fish safety, and that is the belief, especially in smaller pools. So there we go. Paul's saying, I don't think smashing ice is a good thing. All that noise and vibration against the lake will can't be good for them. No, I agree. I've been looking into heated jackets and pants instead of using the heaters. Watch it, Will Simon. I mean, and this is something like, I tell you what, I can't believe this. And I used to fish real hardcore about 15 years ago. And I'll be out in all weathers. I'll wake up in the morning and there'll be ice on the inside of my bivvy, and you know. But I never had a bivvy heater. I used to always wear thermals and you know have gloves and things like that. I had my kettle, so I wasn't had hot drink. But what I didn't do for many years was have a hot water bottle. And it might sound strange, but I tell you what, you cannot beat them. And I have two, and I just have them in rotation. So when one, well, you know, so I've always got them, or I can have two. They're great for my back because I've got a bad back. But I tell you what, they keep you toasty. They really do. Dan's saying he disagrees. It's too cold, and yeah. Well, I've not got a problem fishing in the cold, Dan. Like I say, it's just that if we're going to do something that, and I've fished in some horrendous weather, from temperature-wise, down when I have Paddington especially. But it's these heaters are, you know, every year. And how many people just get away with it and things like that, I dread to think. So hi Neil, how you doing? So Darren's just loaded his car up, having well there you go, a couple of hours on the lake. Can't wait to use my stones, and there we go. Well, you get on there. That reed rig, the fact is, I think one of the reasons the reed rig works is because how I fish it, I push it back into my ball of method, and then I'm guaranteed to have an element of slack. And I see too often, don't get me wrong, Steam Link catches thousands of fish, and I'm not saying it doesn't is not as effective as the weed rig, but every dog has his day, so to speak. And the thing is, you've seen some of the posts I've been putting out from underfishing. The guys I know underfishing out in Holland, you know, they're friends of mine. They fish on stones or one thing or another. But so many times you see a fish suck up, you suck the bait up, it hasn't taken, the hair's been too long, so it hasn't flowed back but also it's got to its reach, its furthest reach, so it can't go back into the mouth of the fish. So there's no way, if that hook doesn't go in there, you know, it's impossible. So yeah, Dan's got power body warmer, runs off a power bank. There's those heated pads you can run off a power bank. There's loads of other ways, but you know, like I say, just be careful. They're rubbish, in my humble opinion. You have to exactly, Neil. You know, I've got really good thermal socks. I've got really good muck boots, so they're really, really warm. And it is. I don't care what I look like. I look like what I do, but at the end of the day, I mean, I must admit, and it is a bit of a plug for the print biz. Paddy, I bought one of their new smocks. You know, you can get a Palatrax one, and I bought one of those just before Christmas, and I just think it's amazing. It's like sitting in a sleeping bag, and it's fully waterproof and things like that. So I don't look for branded stuff. I look for stuff that's really efficient. So I wouldn't buy my thermal socks, for example, from the industry. I buy them for people who make thermal socks for selling, if that makes sense. Yeah, well, there you go, Wayne. That's cups of tea. But you do fish far better. I mean, I've done it, you know, I can remember in the old days when as kids, you know, we used to get up at Sparrows and go and fish down the Trent. All we wore was our barber coats and a top underneath it, and jeans and cheap pair of wellies from Woolies. And I used to freeze, and it just doesn't make it enjoyable. But if you're nice and toasty, you fish better. It's what the whole thing's like. I think they should supply carbon monoxide or whatever heater. I just don't think they should sell them, Robert, you know, because the trouble is then people have got to, how do you stick it up? I'm sure there is ways. Obviously, you can bolt it on, but then will the batteries be right? Yeah, all those kind of things come into it. This is just my opinion, and that's, you know, I'm not here to tell anybody anything. All I will draw is people to the conclusions that I've made, and if they're interested, fine. If they're not, nobody's lost, no loss. There we go. Stephen's just come up with something here. Military skin thermal layers, good thermal top layer, military soft shell and seal skin socks, and a good sleep system and a hot water bottle for backup. And that is really pretty much where it is. I mean, I know I'm in the trade. Can print biz up the sizes? What I would do, John, is reach out to Paddy Lee, Patrick Lee, he's on the team. He's the owner of Print Biz, and he will do bespoke stuff for people. So, you know, some stuff only goes to a certain size, but there is actual specials, and he can order those off his suppliers. So just reach out to him, John. He's a friend of ours, so he's more than happy to do that. So going back to what Stephen was saying, that's the truth. And I know I'm in the trade, and people say, oh, you should be supporting your shop and things like that. I'm an angler. That's where I am. And I'm nothing against shops. I think it's terrible that it's disappearing left, right and centre. But the fact is, if you know, my boots, for example, they're working boots. So for working on the sites. So they're fully waterproof. They're really, really warm. Then I wear my proper thermal socks from a thermal sock company. And I don't buy branded kit, not because there's anything wrong with it, but I just think there's better stuff out there, and ironically a lot cheaper. But again, each to their own. I know people like, you know, that kind of element of fishing. So we one angler this weekend, but probably 1,000 skates. Huge Gussie, yeah. There we go. So anyway, we'll put a ring fence on that. Let's be happier as we go into, but it's just something very, very relevant. Anyway, so going back, I'm going to turn my camera around. Anyone, kids on ice today on Facebook? Don't know if they know the dangers. Well, that's the trouble, Neil, every year. What's Trevor saying? Being out on an Argus bed chair, thin, sleeping in the free. Yeah, that was the old days, wasn't it? Remember the old, we used to sleep on, like, the bed chairs. Weren't bed chairs, they were like deck chairs and stuff like that. And yeah, we put ourselves through some rubbish back in the day. At least you've got the opportunity of being very, very comfortable. Great set of thermals, couple of layers of loose clothing, decent coat for days, nights, and have heat sling bag on a full power pack. There you go. So it's easy done. Lee Jackson, hope you and Amber are well up north. So let me come back again to tell you bits of wire. I don't even know what you're talking about now, Wayne. For that, I'm going to have another small drink. Right. So let me turn this around. So, as I said, you've got an injury, you've got a scratch or cut or whatever, right? You clean it, like with a wipe or something like that. Put some antiseptic on it and stick a plaster on it. So, oops, bed chairs made of wire. Oh yeah, that's right. I now know what you're talking about. Right, let me just move my light a little bit closer so you can see. Right. So, what is propolis? Now, I have done research, and I do get this from the main propolis factory. It's actually, it's kind of a resin that bees expel. The reason they expel it is they can feel it basically, as soon as moisture hits it, basically it goes off, for want of a better description. Hi, Glenn. So it becomes solid, right? This propolis, as I say, has no medicinal benefits. Okay, it's a part of a 2-pack system. This is a bit like saying, oh, hang on. This has got a medicinal value, as in a physical medicinal value. Not the fact is it has its benefits, obviously, but and this is so. If you think propolis is a plaster, okay. Then when you use a wound antiseptic. Now I use a company who supplies, and like I say, I sell this stuff as cheap as I can. Some people said to me, oh, your stuff's expensive. Yeah, but you're getting 50 mil, you're not getting 30 mil. So I'm doing it as cheap as I can, because I do believe that every angler should either have this or certainly have access to it. And I'll go on in a minute why. But again, you know, assume nothing, question everything. What does wound antiseptic spray? Is it any good? Yada yada. So that's where I was, and I sourced it from the main, it's called NT Labs. And they basically they do all this stuff for the koi market, and this is where we get this from as well. So if you say that is your cream, your antiseptic cream, so let's try and do this. Now I've not done this like this, so this could all go horribly pear-shaped. That is just water. So all you would do, So you know, well, I can always say for Palatrax, you know you've got the real stuff, the best stuff I can get. Because at the end of the day, not only do I think we're obliged to, but also I've got my own fishery and I want to look after them the best I can. So it's quite gloopy. You see. So that would be like putting on your antiseptic cream, yeah? So that's what you would do. You could get a cotton bud and rub it in. Okay, you've got to have full control of the fish, but that's what happens there. Now this stuff, as you can see from the lid there, it's pretty, and I've changed the actual lids on them now, so they've got a better lid. So this is your plaster. So again, using a cotton bud, which I forgot to bring, you'll put that on there, and then as soon as it comes into contact with water, I'm glad it did that, that would have gone a bit wrong. So all you do prior to popping your fish back is you do that, and hopefully you can see that will do. And I'm going to leave that on here, and we'll at the end of the live we'll just have a look at what it looks like. So that's what you're doing. I hope that makes sense. Actually make any difference to the fish? Neil Thompson, yeah, I don't know, like I said, I just do my own stuff. Hi Ian, how you doing? Who have I missed here? Small drink. No, I don't hardly drink anymore. I'm too old. I'm too go to bed too early. So yeah, so I hope that you see that. So we put the antiseptic on like you would on a cut or a graze or something like that, and then we stick a plaster on top. All right. Now, why it's particularly relevant, this piece, okay, is I've seen a lot of people just putting this on wounds without really having the knowledge. That's just like putting a plaster on a wound that could be infected. So basically what you're doing is trapping infection in. So what you have to have your antiseptic. That cleans the wound. Especially with fish, you know, they're living in a world full of bacteria and beasties. So, hi Ian, how you doing? So that's the way. Have we got any questions? Yeah, it does a bit, Paul, it does, it's weird stuff, but what I'm trying to say is there is kind of, I'm going to do a feature on this, in catchable fish, just what I think of catchable fish. If you haven't entered, there's loads of competitions and loads more, suppliers are getting involved. There's, well, one of those smocks I said about, you know, one of those is up for grabs. So, do go on to Catchable Fish. Keith, hopefully you're still here, Keith. If you could just put a link, post a link up so people can see the link to it. Go through to the magazine. Keith's done a sterling job. Loads of other people involved with it. It's really exciting, to be fair. Got some fantastic feedback. But loads of free competitions in there. I mean, so, you know, the truth is I don't like magazines full of adverts. So is this indulgence? But I want us to have competitions. So instead of an advert, I've said to people, whether it be Palatrax or the print biz, are you happy to supply a prize? And then they get some, you know, exposure because they've supplied the prize. So that's the idea behind that. So do get on there and enter them. There's some really good prizes to be had, including a session down here on Ben's pool. So Lee's saying, I know for a fact that stuff works. Used it a few times and recaught fish I treated later on much better conditions. Well, this is the good thing, Lee. If you're using regulated, NT labs are so regulated because they, you know, the koi market, the expense of koi fish compared to the king carp is, you know, horrendous. Some of them were worth, you know, well, I've known in Japan fish over £1 million. So, what's Cliff saying? Cliff Dixon, they won't steal seals, so it seals on contact with wet net before I have got it over the whole area. Applied disinfectant. Ops takes me. Yeah, you've got to, you like you say, practice makes perfect, Cliff. But all I would say is, you know, your fish needs to be calm. And I'm not saying this of you, but I do see a lot of people when they bring in fish in because they're bringing them on in, you know, on heavy test curve rods and big reels. They're not really expending the whole fight. And I personally, one of the reasons I like to fish through action is because I like to play the fish out. So, oh, thank you, James and Keith, top gentlemen. So, yeah, as long as your fish is, you know, you just got to get your fish in a calm mood and then apply it. And like I say, what I said is the facts. So, But why else should we do this? What's Paul saying? It's important to take care of the fish and treat wounds properly to keep them healthy. We won't have any lift next January. Exactly, Paul. That's all Palatrax is about. You know, we're looking at things and saying, can we do better? Like I say, I'm very, very, as you know, and I've stuck my head above the parapet. They keep on trying to shoot me, but I'm still there. And I'm a big target, so, but I totally disagree with the whole lead situation and poor baits, you know, just because if bait doesn't equal food, then it shouldn't be going in water. Great product, I use it on my, exactly, David. So I've gone to the people who really know their stuff with NT Labs, and, you know, they do. You know, they manufacture stuff. It's an English company, which is even better. And so, like I say, I buy it and repackage it and sell it as cheaply as I possibly can. So, but why else should we have it? And this is me speaking. I think, like I say, I think we've got a moral obligation. We're taking a fish out of his environment and we're putting a hook in it. We need to do the best we can back for the fish. But also, it's a fishery management tool, and that's why I supply it down here. Anybody who fishes down here, you don't have to bring it with you. I supply it. Because say you catch a fish and it's nothing to do with the hook hold. You know, it's got some lacerations from spawning or something like that. So isn't it just a little bit that we can do for the fishery and ourselves going forward, like Lee said, in catching fish in the future? So that's all I say is, if you caught a fish or see somebody else who's not got it and they caught a fish and it's got a wound or, you know, a sore or anything like that, just to do that, it's got to be better than nothing. And that's just me from the heart, you know. And don't rush trying to reel in. Any fish can cause. Yeah, exactly, Trevor. And like I say, I've always, it's a bit of a strange one for me, because it's not about getting it in, it's about playing it out. That's the fun. That's the bit where your heart goes. And but perhaps I'm old school. But yeah, is the fish antiseptic okay for the inside of fish's mouth? Yes, it is, Owen. Like I say, it's fully regulated. Well, I can't get better. If better exists out there, I can't find it, because I've gone to the people that actually physically make it, and they're UK based. I've had meetings with them, so that's just where I am. What other companies supply, I don't know, and I'm not going to get involved in what other companies supply. All I do know is mine isn't 30mm, it's 50mm, because I'm just trying to keep the price down, and the best way for me to do it is to offer more. So James is saying he uses a lot of NT products. Yeah, they're really, really good. Go on to NT Labs, and like I say, I don't know if you could get it cheaper through them, because you've got to buy it in bulk and things like that. But look at their stuff; they've got other stuff for fish safety, and it's really good gear. Sounds like your dinner is ready, Pom. No, Tinny's just heated a one of them things in the bag, hot pillow that you stick in a microwave, and she's got a sore back. So, and she's cold and they're really hot. So yeah, never understood the thing of getting fishing quickly. Play it out, better to fish and more enjoyable for you. Yeah, like I say, I'm always very careful. I suppose you can't worry about, you know, people, especially now with Facebook. But you say something like that, and some people can critique, and it's genuine. If people fished on through action rods, lighter gear, you get that. I don't fish on heavy gear, but I wouldn't get the same buzz. I just wouldn't, because, you know, I see people using 4-pound test curve rods, and it's so wrong on so many levels, including fish safety. But you don't get the play, you know, and that's what fishing is for me. But that's me, you know. But all you will do, if you crank fish in, you try and sort them out on the mat, and they go crazy because they're still absolutely full of beans. So, Ian runs a couple of fisheries. I tried to implement fish care as part of the fishery rule, but the club didn't want to follow suit, as the match guys wouldn't do it. Apparently it's a carp only problem. I very nearly walked away. Well, I would have very nearly walked away, actually would have walked away, because we have this obligation. You know, you can't put profit in front of it. You can't put anything in front of it. We've got an obligation to look after not just the environment we fish in, but the fish we fish for. And it's madness as well, with people, you know, running fisheries don't want to care about their fish, because fish, if we could be mercenary about it, they cost a fortune. So that's the way. I did it at Paddington, and again, here, because it's easier for me, and it's another little benefit. You haven't got to bring anything with you. But like I say, just you know, what do they say? Leave nothing but footprints, kind of thing. And just, if we get a fish and it's wounded in any way, shape or form, it might not be from, and predominantly they aren't, certainly with grips, predominantly you won't cause any mouth damage, but you'll see a sore where it's sat up over the winter, or, you know, there's a million and one things, so just treat it. Hope she thanks. She's making it up, Martin. A lot of fish I fish on do, but I have never been asked if I have it. Although, to be fair, it's always by my cradle. Yeah, I mean, I think, to be quite honest, I see more fisheries questioning bait. They're more and more talking about what damage lead does to the substrate, because they've never really thought about that. They've always thought with water quality, and there's nothing to do with that. And like I say, people are realising that, you know, if you want to be business minded about it, you've got to look after your stock. Did you see? Oh, sorry, Lee. I do apologise, mate. It's been hair on fire. I've had a work party, and yes, fantastic. Thank you very much. And you don't want to give the protesters anything? No, I'm old school. I don't care anymore, Wayne. I just think it takes a shine off of what fishing's all about for me, which is enjoyment. I mean, there is a plethora, and there always will be, of the idiot factor, not just in fishing, in life in general. And I don't want to get involved with it, because I say it takes off the shine of angling for me and everybody else. But look at what I've said about lead for 25 years now, and I've been shot down at, you know, every day of the week and sometimes. But I don't care, because I know and I don't say this with arrogance, there's a right or a wrong here. To be dumping lead in vast amounts like that is wrong. So there we go. On the fish care front, as a fishery owner, do you feel about netting and silver removal to aid carp growth and welfare? It's been done, you know, for a long time. It's a good question though, Ian. Personally, when I had Pallington, which was absolutely infested, it was an old EA site, and when a lake or a pond would drop down, they'd get all the fish out of it, and Pallington was in the floodplain, so it always had water in, so there was all kinds of weird and wonderful things stuck in there, like golden tench and whatever. And we just had to, every year, you know, we had our own nets, and big nets, because they're, you know, reasonably sized lakes, and we used to have nets, you know, stop nets and things like that. And we used to take out fish, because they're just, if not, you know, you're going to be detrimental to your fishery. So your own PVA nuggets. Thank you, Lee. I've got a few. So I have no problem at all. If you want to look after your fish seriously, what I got here is I've got carp and I've got perch to keep the fry down. So fingers crossed, that's not to say a fish can't be, or fish eggs can't be brought in by a bird and things like that. But I know I won't have a need to net. But fisheries that are multi-species, they have to, because the silvers will just take over, and the fish, there's not enough food to go around, so it's just kind of removing a few mouths away from the table, kind of thing. But if it's done properly, the excess fish I would then sell, so that I can put them, you know, things back into the fishery from that point of view. But you know, let's be true, especially with carp. You know, these fish are very, very hardy fish, but we still need to look after them. And by looking after them is decreasing the biomass size, so there's more food to go about and things like that. Because if not, it's like, you know, just not feeding them properly. And you know, people wouldn't feed a pet, you know, every now and again. They do it all the time, and that's the thing. If you get a biomass problem, you know, I'm not going to sit here and talk about all the negatives of fishery management, because there's a lot of issues that go unseen. But by doing that, you are looking after them and the fish that you're moving on. They're going somewhere where they're wanted to go. You know, so it's a win-win situation to do it properly. But all I would ever say is the reason I got my own nets at great expense from a place in Bridport down in Dorset, Collins Nets, that's the place. I had the dry suits and everything to do it all properly, but I didn't want to bring nets off site that had been used. And don't get me wrong, you know, these folks that have netting companies, they know how to dry their nets and get it all ready. But I wanted to be uber biosecurity secure. So yeah. What's Cliff saying? Most of my carp fishing is done on 2 1/4. Yeah. Test curve barbel rod with hook lengths of £10, breaking strain or blow. Only use bigger tackle on snaggy swims of distance casting. Heavy weights. You meant to say stones there, not weights. I'm just whizzing through this quickly. So yeah, I mean, we're singing off the same hymn sheet, to be fair. Like I say, there's it's again, as soon as you put your head up and say, should we really be using £4 test curve rods, you get all this hate aimed at you and things like that. But what if you're saying it for the right reason? That let's kind of, you know, be fair to the fish's mouths. Fish going that way, and you've got a £4 test curve rod or £3.5 test curve rod. The amount of give is minimal, so you're literally, you know, and damage is caused, and I'm not into that. What's Neil saying? Yes, pole fishing has changed so much with now being able to pull the elastic to get fish in faster. Got to put more strain on the hook. Yeah, trouble is match fishing, speed fishing. I used to know a very, very efficient match angler, and I was with him one day when he was fishing on the Wick close in, and it was just a machine. It was just all about winning. It wasn't about playing the fish. And again, each to their own. But they do drag them in down quick. You know, really. And they got these poles now that they, you know, these margin poles, and they're really stiff. But then they're now catching fish that are 20, 25, even £30 because they're fish that have gone in there, and within several years they start to whack the weight on. So they're fishing for big fish. But I do. Yeah, we won't talk about match fishing on this evening. That's another one. James, in my opinion, it's better for biomass levels when you keep them low. You wouldn't overstock a fishing. Well, exactly. I mean, to be honest, James, I look at my pools as fish tanks. You know, Matt, the fishing manager who is down here with me, that's what I've kind of impressed onto him. Just the trouble is, with a fish tank, you can see in there, you can see any guns, you can see you've got a filter and things like that. When you've got actually water, you know, your own waters, natural waters as such, you haven't got that ability. So you need to do so many things. You need to understand if you've got more carp, for example, you know, and then they're excreting, you know, that's not good stuff. So the less is more kind of thing. Great fun that was. Yes, you've been there on the netting, gudgeon next, I think, Pom. I need to catch gudgeon and a rough. Electric fishing was weird. Yeah, I tried that once. I didn't really. What have I missed? You haven't won the lottery or anything? That's too much information, Steve. Just go on catch up. So you're talking, Glenn. Since started using grip hooks, must say mass damage is very minimal compared to other hooks I've used. So definitely. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to bore this evening with going on and on about. You know, fish care, but at the same time, I think it's part of my job to explain to people. Like I say, propolis isn't got any medicinal properties. Whatever anybody says, that's just a fact. But I design grips because why, for a start, do we have two options of hook points, barbed or barbless? But also, we know barbed is a no-no. It's catch to kill. And then barbless do have problems with skipping and mouth damage, creating more mouth damage. And, you know, there's some people who say they make the hole larger. I'm more concerned about the skipping. When pressure comes off, the hook starts coming out, pressure goes back on, and because the hook point's only just, it skips inside the mouth. So grips are the real deal. I've gone to Japan, I've gone to the best people I can find who manufacture hooks, and that's what we've got. And if people want to think it's marketing or any bump like that, what about if it isn't? What about if it is just that I want to produce a hook that's the best hook I can't go anywhere else. That's why I've gone to Japan. I can't use a higher grade metal, things like that. So at the end of the day, grips, you'll catch fish after fish after fish on. There's no need for heart sharpening and all this things that I don't agree with, to be quite honest, and therefore they're very economical as well because you'll get so much use out of them. But thanks for that, Glenn. I appreciate the feedback, and you know, mainly 99.9% of the time that's the feedback we get, because what happens if they are a third hook design? Well, they are, and what happens if they are better? You know, in regards to fish safety and mouth damage and things like that, well, they are. So, and those that want to diss them, there's nothing I can do about that, is it? That's just the industry. What's Neil saying? EA Electro fished the canal for Xander and now the carp have gone missing as well. Very suspicious. Don't know. Not going to get involved with that one. Right, what I have got is the winner of the main Facebook. So let me team Facebook. Let me move all this stuff out. So who has won all of this goodies? As like I say, is it somebody that's here? So baiting set and all kinds of things. Right, so I don't know either. So here we go. It is none other than Tom Bent. Tom Bent, you have, I haven't seen your name this evening, Tom, but you might be here. Or you might watch it on catch up. But Tom Bent, you have won. Congratulations, the main team prize. And just to let you know, folks, there'll be another one going up tomorrow. So watch out for that. I run them for every 2 weeks. So every second week is on my Sunday live feed. So that's when I announce that. So congratulations, sir. Well done. We will get that off to you. And we're going to draw this very shortly, which is the live feed draws. Just send yes to my Facebook personal page, Simon Pomeroy, and you'll be in with a shout of winning that. So we'll do that when that comes through. Now, as I said, I did the mystery prize. Hang on, so what we got here? Neil, yes, the electro fish, the canals, but I mean, even heard they steal the best fish to. Oh, we'll keep away from that, Lee. We'll keep away from that, mate. Yeah, so congratulations now to... So what it was, you might have vented or we might not. I know a couple of hundred people did. It was a very, very close-up of the grip screws. So, and the winner is Ray Bailey. So congratulations, Ray. If you're here or watching it, get hold of us. So if not, we will get hold of you and get your prize off to you. And it's a mystery prize. So there we go. Let me just whiz my camera around. So, hope that's not a price of one for the other week. Oh, I don't know. Have you claimed it, David? Don't ask me. I'm just the face of all this. Tinny's the engine. She keeps it all going. Have you not had your prize, David? If you haven't, just give Tinny a shout because we normally don't have a problem. So, right. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, this is interesting, and this is. I don't want to be gushing, but there's lots of people behind the scenes helping Pallet Tracks, and this is something that, especially for this product, the glug. So if you go into, obviously we don't sell into retail, but if you went into a shop and you pick that up and you would just go, well, what, I can only put a little bit on there, instructional wise and things like that. So Keith came up with this cunning plaque. Not yet. I will just ping me, David. Just ping me a private message, and I'll check into that and get back to you, mate. So Keith, because he's worked 40 years in retail, he said, "Why don't you have a QR code on the back which takes you through to the film of how to get the best of the glug?" So all our products will come on that, and so top job by Tinny for actually working out our thermal printer. And yeah, really good idea from Keith, because then you can go straight through to the film of any of our products, because with innovation comes education or explanation. So yeah, that's just something just to say. If you all you've got to do is put your phone down and it'll take you to one of the films and hopefully help out. So any questions? Come on. Yeah, thanks, Ian. Well, it's not my idea, unfortunately. It's people far higher pay grade than me, far more intelligent than me, because I don't have a clue about it. But yeah, just help. If it can help, it's all good. So come on, there's 20 odd of you sitting out there. Somebody must have a question for me. It can be any big thing about the trade. I've been in the trade for 26 years. I've obviously owned fisheries, had 2 tackle shops. I know a bit about fishing. Certainly, as I said, I don't know it all. But no questions, nothing in there. Have you looked at producing grips pre-tried rigs for the match? Well, actually, that brings me into Ian Brookman's asked me a question about that as well, about bringing stuff smaller. Now, this is where it gets a bit. Any big cats? We wish. We keep on looking. The trouble is with being in the match scene, and we are going to do stuff. Well, we already do some stuff, but we've got other plans as well. Is grips are really expensive to make. That's genuine. That's, you know, if you're going to buy the best metal, you're going to remanufacture by having the grip screws pressed in and things like that. But you can go in and buy 10, you know, hooked to nylon for the match seam, because the hooks don't cost a lot, you know, compared to what we're doing, because they've been remanufactured. So you get, obviously I put cutting points on as well, so they're really sharp and stay sharp. But the problem is the expense, and you won't believe it in how much it is more expensive to get the grip screws printed on. So therefore, when you can go into a shop and get, I don't know, let's just say 10 hooks to nylon for a £5. I don't know, it's years since I've bought, you know, bought hooks to nylon, and I just couldn't compete. I just can't compete, and that's the downside of it. And that's why, you know, we're going to try and push more people to and help more people with knots and learning how to do it yourself. But that is one of the downsides of, I try to keep everything down to as affordable. I mean, our hooks now are cheaper than a lot of hooks out on the market. And then if you work out the scale of economy, I suppose that, you know, if you're going to catch 200 fish per pack of 10 grips, or 10 fish on a pack of 10 something else that turn over. So I think they're really, really a bit of a bargain, to be true, because I'm in the background, I'm behind the scenes, I know how much hooks cost and where they come from and all that kind of bump. Yeah, that is the problem, and I can't get away around it, because I'm not going to go for a thinner or a less quality wire. And obviously the grip screws are power tracks. That's what we're about. So sorry, Owen. You have time yourself. Regarding fish safety, would a tutorial be available on playfish, especially on larger species? What we've got, Trevor, again, not a lot of people might not know, but we've got a YouTube channel, Catch More Fish TV, and on there is a whole video I've done all about, you know, how to look after fish. Yeah, have a check of that. Catch More Fish TV on YouTube, and there is literally a film I did, I think it was last year, with Curly when he was working for Carpology. So that one's out there. Still hard at work on this, Ian. I'm looking at something quite interesting. I was talking to the supplier 2 weeks ago. I'm still waiting for some feedback. But obviously it's not going to help you catch more fish, but I'm just looking to get the best quality stuff and sell it, you know, at a very, very favourable price. That's why I'll never be rich, because I'm not the best businessman, am I? But I don't care. I'm rich in so many other ways. So can we get the Eagle Wave on team page? Hi, Matt Woodman. Sorry, you've confused me a little bit there. The Eagle Wave on team page. I'm not too sure. I think I've said, I got so confused now. I've got so many things going on. It's in the pipeline, but the trouble is we haven't got any packaging. So we're waiting for the packaging, and I said, and a few people have done it, and I'm not sure if it's on team exclusives or not. You might be able to tell me. But just phone us up if not, and they're all in stock. I'm just waiting, and because of Christmas and one thing and another. I wasn't expecting before Christmas, to be fair, but you know, Christmas always slows up things, so they'll be here as soon as they can be here. Is there a grip sea hook in the works for the future? A lot of people are using grips full stop, depending on whether it be wrasse or whether it be bull huss and things like that. You've got the Eagle Waves in the 1&1/0s, but I personally, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I sent him some the grips cats, the Monster Cats hooks, because don't forget. Oh well, no, that's the wrong side to say. It's not about don't forget. It's about I suppose interpretation. And if you look at a hook and a hook and a hook and a hook, it's always a hook. So how many patterns do we actually need? In carp fishing, I would suggest it's a bit different because you've got so many rigs. But if you look at sea rigs, most of them are very, very similar and have been similar for donkey's years. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. You know, I would question it. And I've done lots of sea fishing, and if I had my time all over again, I'll certainly do things differently. But those monster cats for, you know, whether it be bass, whether it be, you know, decent sized pollock or coalfish or ling or things like that, you know, look at what we've caught. We've caught fish to 450 pounds on them. So, you know, that goes a long way, doesn't it? So, if you see out in, when I was out in Thailand, I wish I was back there. Wish I was back with Mr. Cruddas and his team and the sunshine, the heat. To think I was sat there, so I was just out there, oh, it's too hot. Oh, it's too hot. Then another huge fish hanging on the end. Anyway, I rabbit off. So yeah, do have a look at those if you're interested in sea fishing. I mean, they'll all work for sea fishing. It's not like you can have a specific hook which will only work for sea fishing or carp fishing. You know, there's loads of hook patterns out there that aren't on the carp scene that would be perfectly adequate and perfectly safe from a pattern point of view. So yeah, you can just, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to produce stuff that's kind of bilingual, if that makes sense. So you can use it here and use it there. You haven't got to have loads of stuff and it's all kind of isolated down. It's you know, it's just what Palatrax does. It's just what I do. So have a look at those, because they well, like I say, I don't know how many different species I have at Top Cats, but if you look at the different males, you know, it's that's the key thing. And the different males I was catching, whether it's Arapaima, whether it's alligator gar, whether it's Siamese cats, you know, whatever, I was still using the same hook pattern, which was the monster cats hooks, for all of those different male species, and they feed differently as well. So have a look at that. I think you'll be very, 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 very impressed. What's your favourite liquid or flavour to use in the colder months? Well, I actually was going to do some stuff tonight. It all went a bit wrong because, as I say, we were working on the fishery for so long. But again, it's very much, I'm not a fan of loads of bait at all. I kind of make a small bird table and fish it accurately. And I find the flavours, and I found this through, excuse me, let me have a little slurp, with my fly fishing for carp. And I was using different flavours to instigate a bite. And if you think about it, you go to a lake and this just says 20 anglers around there and 20 of them are all using different baits, yeah? One bait will be more successful. Now, it could be because of where the person is, and his skill, one thing or another. But a lot of times it is just down to the bait. And it's a crazy thing, actually, in fishing, in modern fishing, that certainly carp fishing, people won't change to a bait that's actually working on the day. You know, if you were fly fishing or lure fishing or whatever, and somebody was catching on Ondex, you wanted to be on Ondex, and you don't get that in carp fishing. But I do believe flavour has a big part of stimulating the bite because of the olfactory system of the fish. And if for whatever reason, we'll never know because we can't interrogate a fish. But basically that, you know, the flavour, I've seen it. I've seen fish come through like 50, 100 floaters, and there's my cork ball, which I've doused with. The jungle's always been a favourite. If you said to me, jungle's just caught so many fish, and it's got clove oil and things like that, so it's very, very potent. But they would literally push through actual food and smash the, you know, I'm still doing it down here. I'm playing on a lot of things now, like, you know, floating pastes and things like that. I've got quite a lot in here going on about how we can improve. I think, you know, we've got a really good system. You know, we make the baits so we know what we're doing, and what makes a good bait is whether it's food source or not food source for fish. So multi-worm is a fantastic bait, but it doesn't mean it's going to be the best bait on the day, so to speak. So you all got to be, I'm just sat back relaxing, listening away. Good man, Lee, you relax. You'll be down here relaxing soon, I hope. So yeah, Dan, flavours are very, very important for me, especially when fish are moribund, where you take a fish from literally doing nothing, it's not interested in food, and you're like waving a bit of chocolate. Can I just say, 7 days now. 7 days was the last time I ate chocolate and biscuits. I saw a picture of me the other day in a trade magazine, and it was at the show in Budapest, and I was mortified. I looked bigger than Katie Price. It was just disgusting. So yeah, I'm on a diet. Well, obviously rum and coke is probably not conducive to it, but there we go. I've got to have a little bit. Have a little break. Oh, what have I done now? How's things? Right, hang on a second. Let me get. Let me just get back to here. Right, what's your favourite liquor? So, do you change the amounts of baits you put in your lakes in the colder months, and do you use smaller baits as well? Great question, Neil, because a lot of people, firstly, going to the size of the baits, don't seem to appreciate in the modern scene that small baits can be fantastic on the day, like they can with perch. You can use a small lure or a big lure or a medium-sized lure. And one, I can remember doing it with the most obnoxious looking little green, tiny, a few centimetres long ones, fishing for perch. Couldn't buy a bite on all of the other ones that I've used, like the oranges and things like that. And I thought, well, I'll give it a go. And I couldn't stop catching. And so it's always good to experiment in size. Don't just think because it comes out as an 18mm bait out of the packet, you can't do something with it. You can either chop it down, chop it in half, put it back to back, all these different kind of things. But going on to the lakes, colder months, I mean, obviously I feed the fish here. They're fed on Aloe Aqua, which is a really, really, well, again, the best quality I can find. If there's a better one out there, I'm always on the look. But this is really good stuff. And so that goes in, but I only put a minimum amount in. I mean, because obviously I've kept the stock relatively low here in the big scheme of things. The perch won't feed on it. They'll feed on the fry and all the other kind of bits and pieces, naturals that they feed on. So next year we'll change. We're going to change a little bit up. We're going to go through to a higher oil content pellet from March. It'll still be within the safety parameters of, oils for coarse fish. It's a bit of a strange one when you're feeding, because it's very difficult to know if they've eaten all the bait. There is some ways to do it, but it works in fish farming. But in an open water, it's very, very difficult. But obviously, if your fish are growing year on year, I mean, you're doing something right. But in the colder months, like I say, I'm a big fan of small baits. Anybody that's fished with me knows I'm quite happy to sit there on a 10mm, knowing I can catch the biggest fish on the lake on it. Big baits doesn't equal big fish. But at the same time, visual this time of year, I mean, even down here, the water conditions are so clear compared to when the fish are really moving around. Oh, just to tell you, I've lost another bivvy, blew into the lake, can't find it. There's a prize for winning it. I need to take them down and put them in when there's a storm, don't I? But so small baits, but it's all about that accuracy. You put a little bird table and stick your bait on the bird table. A foot off is no good because all the birds are on the bird table. So that's my bit of advice anyway. And I've learnt from some very good anglers, to be quite honest. Ralph is chilling out. Good man. You've got a wine on the go there, Ralph. What's everyone go-to food to keep warm on the banking? Well, for me, it used to be Viennese whirls, but I can't eat anything like that. Me, it's coffee. I'm a terrible tea and coffee drinker, and that's the things, but I'm not the best person to eat on the bank, so I wouldn't be the best to advise you there, Glenn. I don't cook on the bank. I just can't be bothered. I just used to eat biscuits and bags of sweets. Terrible. Oh God, Neil, yeah, for definite. I tell you what, when I first developed these glugs, Neil's asking whether I'd use the glugs in cold months. That's when I think they come into their own. Now, again, I can just tell you the facts of the case, so to speak. But I hope everyone's right, because I'm just sitting here chilling out. If you've got to go, please feel free. I was fishing. It was the first ever feature I did for a magazine called Catch Small Carp, which is now actually Total Carp. And so I went for a practice up on a swim, my favourite swim on the Rainbow Lake, Pallington Lakes. And I knew the fish would hold off in Norfolks. They did. You could actually see, in one spot you could see fish, and they'd all nestle up there. It was the 28th of December or something like that. And I got up for a day session, and I got up with a bait. Wayne will know this, and a couple of other people perhaps on here. Pom's Pom, my first ever bait. So it was Pom, because I'm Pomeroy Pom, my nickname, and they were apple and walnut, so pomme in French is apple apparently, or whatever. So I just fished them, but basically naked. So as they came out of the packet, hadn't done anything, hadn't tweaked anything with them, and I could see the fish in there. And I was fishing a gravel spot that always produced for me, but it was cold. It wasn't nice weather in any way, shape, or form. It'd been cold up till then, so the fish just weren't moving. And so it took me probably about 3 hours until I thought, you know, you've got your glug baits. The whole point of the glug bait is it gives that. It's like the wafer thin mint from Mr. Creosote, if anybody here is as old as me, or you walk past and somebody just puts a lovely big chocolate biscuit. I shouldn't be talking about chocolate. You might not be hungry, but you still munch it. And that's why, because of the flavours and the chemoreceptors and what we're really talking about is the olfactory system. I'm looking for something that is like that. You know, you know, I'm not really hungry, but oh, it's there and I want it. And what I did, I changed to the same bait, same flavour, but it was in the glug. And the next, I think it was 2 hours, it might have been 3 hours, because it was 2 and 3 or 3 and 2, whatever it was. I had 14 fish. Same spot, and all I'd done was use, but it was cold, and that's when they come into their own because they're so powerful. And what we do is obviously get them I mean, you can buy the boosted hook baits, but you know, you get them the glug and put a load of baits in there. Just make sure that you drill your baits before going through, because there's a sugar content in here that will make it go hard. And it's my go-to. You know, very, very infrequently will I not have a rod out all year round on a boosted hook bait, to be fair. But when they're slow up, you're trying to instigate a bite, and then you have to have something by design that will instigate a bite, if that makes sense. And that's what those glugs are all designed to do. So there we go. Oh dear me, hook tire. Never been able to solve those. Never been able to sort those, Robert. I tell you, no word of a lie. When we were kids, I lived up in Milton in Derbyshire, and I was a member of the Mount Pleasant team, and there was a match team in there. It was a pub down the road, and it had an angling team, and we used to have to tie on to 12 ounce bottoms, the size 28 joker hooks, little tiny little red ones, and I probably couldn't see them nowadays, but we used to have to whip them on because the older folk, we couldn't see them, so we would be whipping little spade end ones. So I've got a question. When's my bloody... I think when you get down here, Ian, and relax and get some fishing, when you get the warm weather, that's the truth, isn't it? We all feel so... It's like today, we all felt really good today because the sun was out. Yeah, it was a bit chilly, but when you got out the breeze, it was like we were literally having to get our kit off. So, yeah. What's Neil saying? I have got this competition. It's just been... I see stones being used by others on a fishing video on YouTube. Has it made a difference to you? I know most of the people, I think. You know, it's like underfishing. You know, the guys over in Holland who do underfishing, and do have a look. If you're like me, I watch this underwater stuff to try and see what the fish are about and what they're doing. Hi, Matt. How you doing? And... I'm lost my train of thought, to be quite honest. But yeah, so you'll see lots of other companies who use underfishing because they're one of the most prolific underwater filming folk. They use the stones, and all their fish they're catching on is on stones. So has it made a difference? Well, to be quite honest, the last 18 months, I mean, I actually believe most of it has been down to team members, you know, telling other their fellow anglers what we're up to while we're doing it. There isn't a hidden agenda, etc., etc. So, but I'm sure people are looking. But I just think people just miss the point of stones, and the reason is because there's such high impact by all of the manufacturers, because they all sell lead. So I'm like a complete pariah by doing it something different. But I'm fishing stones, putting a non-toxicity element about there, because there's other, you know, Dinsmore's and UFO and lead-free. There's other companies out there doing fishing weights that are not toxic. I fish a stone because it's part of the background chatter of the fish. I can use it as a method feeder. I can flavour it with, you know, water-based flavour and things like that. But the problem is, and we've always had it, you know, I mean, I can remember last, I think it was 6 times the British record was caught on a barbel before it died. It was also on the stone system. I mean, but you're up against a huge machine, aren't you? It is David versus Goliath. But on the plus side, Goliath was killed with a stone, so you never know. But I just wish people would realise that what happens if they really are the real thing. You know, they actually do make a difference. You're angling. I promise you, and this again said no arrogance. For me, fishing is, I want to catch fish. Okay, it's not the be all and end all. I blank like the best and things like that. But I don't like not catching, because that's not what I've gone for. I've gone to, it's like going for, I don't know, golfing and not hitting the green or whatever, and getting the hole down the ball down the hole, sorry. So is it changing? I think it is changing, to be quite honest. A lot of people are starting to listen and say, well, at least give the bloke a chance. What happens, and with lead getting banned all across Europe, I know it's unfortunate that the UK isn't taking all the facts seriously, but there's been a big change. I think grips, the team, things like that, but certainly we're selling more stones now than we ever have, to be quite honest, because people are starting to realise, and because we're, anti-ejecting, I don't believe you should eject a weight, whatever it is. Your stones will last you forever, to be quite honest. And the fact is that if you buy a lead and a method feeder, that'll cost you, let's just say £5. Well, if you buy a stone, which I try to keep at £2, they're not, they're what I call a loss leader. You're actually getting a method feeder and a weight, but also you're getting the uniqueness of it. It's a natural fishing weight, and you can do all these other things you can't do with a lead. So I think people are coming around to it. There's still a lot of people out there that diss them, but it's a shame really, because they're missing something. They're missing out on an option, and it is a genuine option. Right, hang on a second. Any plans to reintroduce shelf life baits? I often take bait with me on foreign trips, so obviously can't take freezer baits. Understandable, Cliff, but again, if you've watched and heard any of the other stuff I've rabbited on about over the years, the trouble is I can't do what I want to do with a bait. A bait doesn't equal food, and as soon as you start loading it with any form of synthetics, it's not going to be as good as the ingredients I put into basically my freezer baits. And I'm not going to put synthetics into my freezer baits, because that defeats the whole object. All I would say is I take my stuff abroad, and have done for years. If I'm going to keep it for a long time, I just properly air dry it before I go, stick it in an airtight container, and then just rehydrate it at the fishery. So it's never been a problem for me. But I can understand it's grab and go with shelf life. But all I would say is just always focus on the ingredients, not just for the fish safety, but the fact is, if you're going to be fishing with something that has no food source, you are therefore fishing with lures, and lures don't catch as many fish as the real thing, as food. Thank you, James. I thought you'd pop in there. He's saying the new Eagle weighs in 6, 8 and 10s. So sorry, Cliff. Yeah, it's not going to... Oh, what's happened there? I pressed another button. It's all disappeared. It's just not something until... it's not something I want to do, because like I say, if you look at where I go with natural baits, multi-worm being probably the best example, and some of the other baits I'm playing around with, and that we've been using for a long time, like crustacean cocktail, because they're literally got loads and loads of dead insects. I mean, unless you put a mold inhibitor in there, they will rot. But I want my bait to rot in many ways. All I suggest is never use a bait that's got black mold on it, or or furry mold on it. But stuff like my bait, in 3 days you'll get on multi-worm, you'll get like a white kind of coating to it. That's not mold. That's just sugars and salts and things like that are in it. So sorry, Cliff, I'm not your man for shelf life baits. I just don't. I know they won't be as good as what I can do with a freezer bait. And I want to do the best, Small eagle, well, Northern John certainly caught a lot of them recently, Wayne. What's really interesting, because it's always been a thing for me, is their offset. So I believe, again, you're going up against the bulk of the industry with offset hooks, but I do think there's something there, and I'm doing quite a bit of work on that, to be fair. What's Colin saying here? In your plans for underwater filming, do you intend to explore that if the board or squab are the most effective shape, personally I have better success with squab, or if I reshape around it? those kind of things are going to be very difficult. I'm not going to say over the time that we won't be able to play with all kinds of things, because fortunately I've been, say, knocking around the industry a long time. I've got a lot of friends who've got fisheries. We've got permission to dive those fisheries, and they're gin clear, because that's what we need. Look at Galen out in Canada, you know, the stuff he does is, you know, decent water clarity, not, you know. What I would say is a round baits are only round for one reason, because it's the most economical way to make and mass produce a shape. That's it. Okay. Anyone that wants to argue about that is really wants to do a little bit more research, because that is a fact. And obviously I've been making bait for 25 years, and the trouble with the round shape, you're using, it's a bit like you know, you're forced to use a lead because there's only leads available. You're forced to use a round shape because that tends to be the like I say, it's the most profitable shape to manufacture. Now the trouble is with that, if you look at the front of a submarine, it's round, isn't it? It's got a round and it displaces water quickly. So do I want a fish to suck in a round bait and eject it? And it's going to travel the greatest distance on speed, because that's what it's doing on a submarine or a torpedo. It's all about the water resistance. So do I want something going out the mouth really quickly, or something that is going to oscillate within the mouth? And I'm happy to fish with just about any shape of bait other than a round one. Nothing in nature is round either. And do fish associate with danger, or the one fish that you want to catch, the big one that's been knocking around for years and everybody's fishing it with the same shape? So, and I've caught so many fish on squabs, it's kind of undeniable to me, because I know why I'm fishing with a squab, because I'm looking for that anti-ejection, you know, I'm not going to get with a round shape. And then there's those other side elements to it. But whether we can get stuff like that on film, I'm not saying we won't, but in the first year we're certainly going to really highlight on the warts and all element of it. So, you know, we can cast out and what we think would be a good cast, and it feels spot on and things like that. Bite detection, all these kind of things we're really going to drill down, because there's obviously lots of different narratives out there, but I know personally, not I've done it on camera, but I certainly dived on it, that many a time that we've assumed that we're doing the right thing, and it's a complete mess down there. So that's really where we're going to focus on Colin initially, but that's not to say we won't do all kinds of things going forward. I'll be mainly using them for, yeah. Well, like I say, Anthony, if you're talking about the eagle ways, the pan species, I honestly don't believe, you know, I've caught some whopping great big fish on like size 16s when I've been tench fishing and things like that. So, you know, like I say, a hook's a hook. So the vast majority of them will be pan species, you know, multi-species. So those 6, 8s and 10s that you know, you can use them for all things. I'm playing around with a 15-pound steam link and a 12-pound braid weed rig with them on, and I don't know, you know, I don't know how that will work out for me, but I do like the fact is that the offset means that the whole top of the point is actually, you know, clear of the shank. So I've got 360 degrees, not a circle where the shank is at the bottom of it. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I've got this stuff all on my hand. I'm going to show you in a minute. I couldn't say at the moment, but I will be in the coming weeks, so I'll post that. Well, I'll see what happens there. Banana. What are you doing now, Wayne? What's a banana? Pom, what is the best way to utilise maggot powder to create a bait that just really stinks of maggot? Is it a case of mixing a lot of maggot powder with one of the base mixes? And eggs as usual. Right, there's a couple of ways, but I think the most efficient way is to use it with, I like conquering my baits off. So I get my squab, I chop off some of the main brain because I want that gone, the skin on the outside, I want that gone. I've got my shape, and then I want to have, again, going back to, you know, the knee-jerk reaction of a bite, I will get my pastes, and this is why I really like doing it, and I literally cram as much of, whether I like Daphnia, you know, because Daphnia is a big part of the food cycle, and most lakes, if not all lakes, will have Daphnia in some way, shape or form. And I'll just keep on pressing it in, and then basically when it's breaking down, it's just diffusing all of this, you know, Daphnia powder, so it's just sending out that food signal. The other thing is to do, if you heat your glug up for 25 seconds, don't leave it in there. These aren't microwavable pots, but they're quite happy at 25 seconds. This will go really, I'll tell you what, I'll do this because there's lots of new members. I'll do it next week. I'll set it up for next live feed, and I'll show you how we use them in this. And basically you heat that up, it becomes really watery, you stuff loads of powder in there, whatever it might be. You can experiment, whatever, and then you can, so what you get this like shell effect. So you've got your initial swab, which I might have flavoured or done something with it anyhow. Then I will coat it off with the paste that's been rammed full of, say, Daphnia powder, and then I will dip that bait and into the powder itself. So I've got all these different things breaking down, because the thing is, you know, if you think about it, fish find your food in the majority of situations, or your bait, because it's food, vibrations in the water, you know, well, there's lots of different things going on, but at the end of the day, you want to get fish to find it. So it's like setting a flare off, and if I could set a flare off of something, that's really cool. So you could do this exactly the same thing with maggot, but it won't bind on its own. You'd have to, if you're going to say, right, you know, I want to make a 50-50 mix, just make a small run of baits to get some yellow sea mix or some multi-worm base mix, and then basically 50% and 50%. You don't want to use a lot because you're only making your hook baits on the day. That's how I was taught, actually, Baldy Day, how to make separate hook baits, really kind of focus on them and skin them off very lightly and all this kind of stuff. But then if you go 50-50, add a bit of egg, you know, get a whole egg, whisk it round, and then basically just keep on adding the powder. Make sure you've got enough, so just do like a half egg mix or something like that, and you'll get it to that doughy stage where it's just coming off your hands, it's not sticking to your hands, and then you can shape them whatever you like. I like squares, and then boil them off for 30 seconds, and you've got a really cool bait that works. And making and experimenting with those kind of things, I think, is quite exciting, because then you know, instead of you just going out and doing the same old thing expecting a different result possibly, which is the first sign of madness apparently, but you're going out with a design. I've designed this bait and I've thought about it, and therefore if you've designed it and it's realistic, why wouldn't you expect to get bites? Oh, Ian, pH levels on the day. I'm honestly, and please don't take this the wrong way, this is the kind of stuff I think we can really confuse ourselves. So when people say to me, you'll only catch Mr. Big Fish on a full moon and things like that. pH levels definitely can have impact on the biomass, but in all honesty, I think we can go too far into things and therefore end up ignoring the real things. Like, say, we could talk about pH levels and then use a bait with no food content, or no watercraft comes in there. I just think it's dangerous sometimes to go down, each their own, this is just for me again, it's dangerous to go down past that. You're never going to prove it right or wrong because there's so many variables on different days, and then, you know, are you going to check your pH level every time you go? And I know it's easy done, but then are you ever going to even know the truth of whether it's going to make a difference on the day? I think it's very I'm not saying it's not impossible, but it would be very difficult. But it would only give you any kind of information on that specific day and on that specific water. So I tend to suggest to people, don't get too bogged down in things. They're quite interesting, I've looked at them over the years, but I would focus on the real fundamentals like bite detection, watercraft, bait ingredients, presentation, unobtrusive, those kind of things. They're the key things to me. But I'm not telling people not to explore and do what you want, but I think it's just in my experience, and I'm keen on all this kind of stuff. It's just you can go a step too far, defocus from the focus points, and actually never really get anywhere in your road. Does that make sense? I hope not. I hope it does. Where are we going? 7 minutes. I don't know what Casbury stock has taken a dip. yeah. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I've also now got a home gym, and I just look at it and think, how do you use all this stuff? I've got to do it. So I saw this picture and it was disgusting. It was vile. I used the Gamma Vape last season for eels. Do you do a frozen version? No, I'm afraid not. It's a dry bait. It's irradiated. To come into this country, it has to be irradiated. Again, all you can do is you can get the powder version, and then use a powder to make up some small hook baits, or whatever size hook baits, but make up a small batch of hook baits, because then you'll be able to make, like you say, a 50-50 mix, say, of Gammarus and multi-worm. I always go back to multi-worm because it's such a powerful base. And then then you can make your own bespoke baits. And I do suggest to people, that's how I was taught to do fish at a higher level, for want of a better expression, purely by really drilling down on the bit that's on the end. So whether it's a fly or whether it's a lure or whether it's a dead bait, I wanted to, you're not going to fish there. Match anglers not going to fish there on real raggy old maggot. They're going to fish on the best. So focusing on that bait is really important, and making a bit of bait. You're not making tons. You don't have to have anything. You've just got to have some egg and some base mix, and that's it. And being able to boil it off. It's very easy to make small batch runs of a good bait. So there you go. What was this? Did it help? I'm not sure. You will get it back when you go diving. Paul Simmons, what do we win if we catch the bivvy? Oh no, sorry. I now really realise. No, this is the fourth bivvy that's gone for sale, and I can't find this one. So, and we're not even sure it's gone into the lake. It's just, it was in the field, and it wasn't even near a lake. It was in a wind tunnel, and the wind just took it. And we don't know where it is, because obviously I live in the middle of nowhere, so it could be in a field around me, but there we go. What's Martin said? I have my PB cat on size 6 grips and 2 multiple squabs, so bigger baits definitely don't mean bigger fish. No, exactly. And if you think in nature what do fish actually eat, there's hardly anything that you can say. Like pike obviously will eat a big bait, but also you'll catch them on the tiniest little lure. So I mean, it's strange with multi-worm. I mean, it's just caught. The catfish just love it. So we're going to be looking at catfish baits this year, so watch this space on that. Catch you later, no worries at all. See you later, Ralph. Right, what bait was that? What a bait that? Yeah, sorry. Right, I'm just whizzing through these now. I've got my 62 PB on a Crave Boilie and Squad Topper. There you go. So if you're using a good bait and you're doing it all right, you should be pretty confident, to be quite honest, because you can only go so far, can't you? Would the crow glug work for pike? Don't know, Simon. Never tried it. That's the honest truth. Just don't know. Try it. Give it a whirl. Because again, they're attracted by various things. I had 35 pound and 5 lobworms. Great bait. No worries, Simon. Nice that you popped in here. No breeze here. It was down to -5. Will we ever be able to buy those Stains indicators? That speak to Matt Rice. He's a team member. Tap him up. I know mine are out to go get ready. I've got to go in. What are you about salting the bait and then rehydrate it from? Ian, I've not got enough time now. I'm going to have to. I've just seen it's 8:30. I've kept you all here past your bedtimes. Good question. Remind me next time we have a chat, and I can go into that. But I'm not a fan of using extra and seeing that people are selling buckets of salt. Well, if you had my lakes, would you want somebody spomming a load of salt in there? No. So where's this one? Oh, there we go. Sorry. Right, I'm just going to go to these folks, and then I'm going to tell you the draw, and then I'm going to go and Dream about chocolate. Where are we? Regarding the stones test, would you do a bait test very close to see if any invertebrates attracted to the bait in the warmer months? Yeah, to be quite honest, we've done this quite a lot with ground baits, and we put ground baits in the margin, and suddenly you see all the bits and pieces floating into it because it's food. And they're hungry, they're looking for food all the time. So if you've got food, and that's what's good about the ground bait, you'll get loads of invertebrate, whether it's caddis or snail or whatever, travelling and migrating to it because it's food. So yeah, we're going to do as much as we possibly can, Trevor, on the dive. It's going to be really, really interesting because we're going to go in with an warts and all approach. We're not editing. We're going to show you how many times we get it wrong. It's impossible to do it right every time without a shadow of a doubt. Is the preservatives in shelf life baits that are bad? Is it the preservatives? It's the ingredients, per se. So if you've got a bait made of maize meal, powdered egg, a cheap flavour, and you mix it together and make a round ball and it smells nice, that doesn't give you any indication of what it is. So, that's really comes to... I'm not a fan of preservatives in bait because obviously a preservative is put there for one reason, to preserve it, but not for the fish, for the angler. So why would I want to add something that's not going to do any good for me anyway? But it's not just the preservatives, and there's obviously lots of different preservatives out there. There's some good, MPG, for example, is used in human cooking and things like that. So it's basically whether it's good for the fish or not. That's the thing, because at the end of the day, a fish will pick up a bit of plastic sweet corn out of curiosity, or just suck it in by mistake or whatever. But it is all about the ingredients. Don't ask me any more questions. You've been brilliant now I can't keep up with you. Going to watch the rest on catch up. No worries at all. Fire bait or cut work, and then the squab. The squab will travel slow, and so stay in the mouth. Like, yeah, exactly. We know the truth, Ian. Thanks for applying baits. I was hoping to have something like multiple cues over a 2-week period in Thailand, but obviously not to be. We'll try the free. Yeah, unfortunately, sorry, Cliff. The only thing I would say is what I took out to Thailand with me was the pre-drilled boosted hook baits. I took quite several different flavours of those out there, so that might be a way, because the fishing I did in Thailand at Top Catch, which is, I say, it's just unbelievable fishing, but I was just using single hook baits on the hair, or doubling up, so I'd have a jungle and a crave, for example. So because they're made into a shelf life. A banana flavoured boilie, no way, and go away. Unfortunately, it's the most propylene glycol that's used. Yeah, exactly, James. And the trouble is, if you look at the fish farming industry, which I'm connected to, would you feed a fish, whatever species, but let's keep it with carp for the moment, a food source that contained monopropylene glycol? You wouldn't. You wouldn't do it. So why are we doing it as anglers, and why is it being sold? It's always dismayed me that shops sell halibut pellets and trout pellets. Well, the name gives it away. A halibut pellet is for great big flat sea fish, and a trout is basically a predatory fish with a stomach, and the carp hasn't got a stomach, it's got a digestive tract. Yes, they will pick it up, but is it any good for them? No, not at all. It's not full. It's not designed. It's like expecting, I don't know, it's a pig to eat a chicken feed. It's not for, just because they live on land doesn't mean that we should be feeding them stuff. It's like they say, with like dogs, you're not meant to give them chocolate and things like that. But if you go around the route I am, which is down to pure fish farming, so you've got a bait of the highest grade you can possibly make, then it is in the lap of the gods. You've still got to put it in the right place. It's still got to work on the day, even if it might be the best food source going. Doesn't mean the fish will pick it up. There's too many variables. Right, what's most melting my mic? I've done it. If you super air dry your baits, this is James coming up to good in an airing cupboard till they're as hard as bullets. They should cook 2-3 weeks. Yeah, exactly. I don't think people, James, really understand. It's another thing to do, to highlight, to be quite honest, how easy it is to shelf life freezer baits by air drying them properly, and then they go as hard as biscuits, and then you get to the lake, pour a load of lake water onto them, or you can put lake water with some flavour into it, and because they suck all the moisture back in, they'll suck the flavour in as well, and you've got a freezer bait with all of the benefits of it like that. So Lee's a good man, he knows a lot about bait, so he's just saying, Wayne Tester, where you just had 3 penguins. I don't care. Right. Was just an idea, pomegranate. No, I'm not saying it. It's something. There's a discussion there. I've gone past my sell-by date here. It's going to be nearly 2 hours. I've been rabbiting away. I think you must all be bored. Lots of swans to fish here. Just lots of particles floating through the levels, and got a 3.75 fish on a few hours later. Yes, yeah, I understand what you're saying, Robert. So don't say chocolate. Look, you're all doing it now. You're just doing it because you hate me. Right, so finally eating. Oh right, actually, first of all, let's turn this round so I can just show you my patch of gunk. Let me just get it under the light. So, and this is like congealed now. So it's essentially like, you know, skin, I suppose, for want of better. So that's the propolis, and underneath it you would have the antiseptic. If you just put propolis on, you can potentially cover a wound that's infected. You don't want to do that, obviously. Right, so the winner. I hope you choke on your Toblerone, Stephen. I had, just quickly, you know, you're getting me now off subject, but on the way back from Thailand, I had a whole one of those huge white chocolate Toblerones, and I ate the thing completely on my own. Didn't give anybody anyway. I digress, as I always do. So Ray Bailey, you have won the mystery prize. No, oh, I've already done that one, haven't I? Sorry, I picked up the wrong bit of paper. You can't win again. So it is Darren Cottrell. Darren, if you're still here, you have won tonight's live feed competition, which is the grips, hooks, and this bit of kit. And I tell you what, it's great fun. So well done, Darren. Give me a shout with your address details, and I can get that off to you. I'm going to go and get this gunk off my hand. You do realise you're the only platform I know who makes these. I don't know, Neil. I just do it because I enjoy having a chat, to be quite honest, and it's from the heart. I'm not trying to flog you anything. If you buy Palastrack stuff, you buy it. If you don't, it's not. At least we can still talk about the wonders and the splendours of fishing, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's like today, just being out on the fishery, you know, you're away from all of that of life, and so yes, no, I will keep on plugging away at these as long as you're happy to hear me rabbit on. And like I say, I don't know it all, I don't pretend to know it all, but there's lots we can share and learn from each other if we do it from the right place. Like I say, there's no hidden agenda here. Of course, I want you to buy stuff because I honestly believe it to be the best I can make, and it works. And you know, but that's because I want you to. If I can help you catch more fish, that can't be a bad thing, can it? But anyway, folks, it's been a pleasure. You've kept me company for nearly. Thanks, Matt. I will tell her we've got to see you soon, mate. But have a fantastic week, folks. I'll be here next week, but it'll be over on the main Palatracks page. Keith will be putting these live feeds. He's putting in Catch More Fish, the magazine. Don't forget to check out that magazine. We worked hard on that. Certainly Keith did. And enter the competitions. There's 8 great competitions there, and you've got as good a chance as anybody, because we'll never have thousands of people. So do enter those, and it'd be great if you could send the magazine or the link to the magazine out to all and everybody. We want to grow it. I've spoken to 2 companies last week about more competitions, because I say, let's just have loads of competitions, loads of informative stuff. Of course Palatracks is going to be in there, but I've designed the stuff to be of use, so I'm not going to go and use somebody else's hook, am I? So you're always going to see a stone, you'll always see in anything I write, and we won't allow lead and poor bake content to be in there. But you know, if there's other products from other companies, of course we'll allow it in there. It's not that kind of party. But obviously there's some fundamentals where I have to draw the line. But anyway, you stay safe, folks. It's been my pleasure. There's quite a lot of people here, so I'm out of here. And any questions, you can always fire me a message on Facebook, or you can phone me up. So good night, stay safe.